Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Real Estate Confidant. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mike Razor. I'm here in New York City. I am the host. As you can see today, I'm drinking my Starbucks in-home coffee. If you guys have not tried it, you should definitely try it. It comes in this little small container. Matter of fact, let me see if I can get it. Wow. Yeah, get this. I'm telling you, get this. That, I don't know, if you guys have, if you guys grew up in a family who drank coffee, grandparents drank coffee, and you remember that smell when you wake up in the morning, the first scent of coffee smell, this gives you that. Not every coffee gives you that. This does. And, in my opinion, it's better than going to the actual Starbucks shop to pick up your drink, to be honest. Sometimes when I go to Starbucks, the coffee that I get, they add mocha almost to everything. I don't really like the taste too much of that. Give it to me black, okay? Give it to me smooth. Give it to me nutty. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today is an amazing day today. It is raining outside, but that's what we need in order to grow the trees, We got an article today from the Real Deal magazine. Abe Cohen did nearly everything right, yet multifamily deals still went bad. Yeah, on my channel, I always talk about multifamily. Great investments to have, but this is an article that I found this morning that from a commercial perspective, okay? So let me clarify. 2 to 4 units plus a storefront, residential. 5+ units and up is commercial. Different deals with banks, different negotiation tactics. Woo, you got non-recourse, recourse loans. It just depends. So this gentleman, Abe Cohen, and I'll put the picture up here, obviously. But Abe Cohen, it says that he did nearly everything right, yet the multifamily deals went bad, which may have something to do with the economy right now. The fact that we are working through this little bit of a recession that we have. Things going up, things going down. If you've ever taken a Series 7 exam, you know that that the real estate market correlates with the overall market in general for the world. So let me read this. Defaults on debt at renovated, fully occupied market rate properties in Brownstone, Brooklyn. Yeah, sorry, buddy. It's unfortunate when you do the right thing, you push everything, and unfortunately, you have to default. Unfortunately, renters aren't renting. I'm looking at these buildings. If these are the properties that are behind his photo, they look like they're older buildings. Maybe he was trying to do some renovation. And whenever you do, just to let you guys know, whenever you do renovations on a property, unless you're paying it outright, the liens, there's a lien placed on the real estate. So if you don't make a payment for that renovation, the company that did the renovation could hold that property, and even, if I'm not mistaken, even own, like take over the property if you don't pay the debt. That's where the lien comes in at. Usually when you have a mortgage, first person is the bank. And then, every other bill comes after that. But if you're paying outright and what have you, then it would be whoever's renovating the property, if any. And someone else, a mentor of mine, told me of a story that that he had to deal with when developing his properties, with the construction company that was renovating his property, that was developing his property, putting the pipes in and everything. He had to make a payment. He wanted to pay everything in full. Everything was done through cash, which is that's how he normally does his dealings. And when he spoke to the assistant with regard to making a payment, him and his business was informed that they just have to go through the bank. They have to, I believe, get a cashier's check or some sort of check from the bank that you have the loan with, the mortgage loan, right, to do the deal. So they explained to the lady that they didn't have a mortgage. They didn't have any debt on this property. At that point, the lady didn't know what to do because that was the normal process. This is how they finagle the system, right? You use the loan money because you don't get taxed on the loan money. You get taxed on the cash though. Anyway, so what they ended up doing was just going to the bank and getting the cashier's check, mailing it to the lady, and everything was fine. But it's an interesting thing when dealing with the banks, separate from when you have all cash and you just work in this system on your own. Even studying the MLO documentation, there's laws that they put in place that whereas in the past it wasn't there for individuals to purchase homes with all cash. Here's the cash in the bag, let's transfer the deed. That's not technically legal anymore. Now you technically have to go through a process. The money has to be in the bank. And then the money has to be what's it called? The money has to be in the bank for, I believe, 3 to 6 months, something to that effect. Don't quote me on it. And then also, it has to be some type of transactional basis for it being in the account. You can't just ask your family member, could I borrow $600,000? And then it's there, and then there's, nobody knows how it got there. It's just an interesting, intricate process trying to move real estate around. It's just so crazy. Anyway, let me go on with this article. It's Abe Cohen of Conway Capital with 566 7th Street, 350 5th Street, and 372 Baltic Street, which is shown in the picture. As tales of multifamily distress rattle investors, one corner of the market has been largely unscathed. Market rate buildings in New York City. Rents are near record highs. Lease signings are up, and the vacancy rates is at 56-year low. You have to excuse me. That coffee is getting me a little bit. And yet, the depth on a mostly free market portfolio owned by Abe Cohen went to special servicing last month after he fell 60 days behind on payment, according to TREP. Now, that's an interesting thing to discuss. Some contracts that you make with banks dealing with real estate or any business where a loan comes into play, they usually put in a clause where, what's it called? What's the name of it? They have a due at closing clause where, when you close a deal, you have to pay a certain amount. But there's also a default clause where if you default on a loan, they have the right to recoup all assets for that loan immediately. Basically immediately. So this is what it sounds like has happened. Because it's a recession, and you've seen it happen with J.P. Morgan, you've seen it happen in various other recessions. But what they do is they just, they tell you, hey, we want the loan. Anyway, let me finish. Two of the properties, 566 7th Street and 355th Street, are in prime Park Slope. The other, 372 Baltic, is on a tree-lined street in nearby Borum Hill, which Borum Hill is pretty nice. All are freshly renovated, and some units in 2023 rented for 80% more than 2 years earlier. What gives? Cohen, who heads Conway Capital, did not comment. His attorney, Terrence Ovid, noted the properties are only a minor fraction of Cohen's 50 building portfolio, which spans Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia. The challenges, Ovid said, stem from interest rates and market volatility. So, which tells me that the loans that he has are variable rate loans. And so the fluctuation because of the recession has increased the monthly payments on those loans, and he's unable to pay those. But he has other properties within his portfolio that are still successful, which is good. The challenges, Ovid said, stem from interest rates and market volatility. Rising rates have been a problem for floating rate loans, but Cohen borrowed at a fixed rate. So what's the problem? Nor has occupancy been an issue. The 3 buildings with the troubled debt were full as of September. It does appear, however, that Cohen was over-leveraged. Oh, so basically, everything is actually fine. The problem is debt to income, basically, over-leveraged, meaning that he put himself in a position where the payments were higher than he could afford, basically. That's like going to purchase stock on margin, but you don't have the cash to pay for it if it doesn't do well, and then turn around and now you have to give up an actual physical item in exchange for the cash. Conway bought the portfolio in 2022. He financed a $6.8 million purchase of 566 7th Street with a $5.9 million loan from Derby Copeland Capital. The landlord tapped Seth Wiseman's Urban Standard Capital, one of his regular lenders, for $4.5 million in debt to pick up the 5th and Baltic Street rental for $6.9 million. Less than a year later, Cohen refinanced the properties with about $12 million in CMBS debt spread across 2 loans with fixed rate of 6.85% and 7%. So he negotiated a rate to get the loan. Cohen knew what he was getting, unlike the floating rate, borrowers blindsided by rapid rate hikes. Still, the size of the loans relative to the building's revenue elevated his risk. The debt service coverage ratio on the deals averaged 1.25 at issuance, according to Morningstar. The debt service coverage ratio of 1 means a property is just enough cash flow to cover loan payments. 1.25 is often the minimum required on multifamily deals. The lower the ratio, the higher the risk of default. A report by S&P Global shows Cohen had even less wiggle room. Cash flow barely covered debt payments at 355th and 732 Baltic when the loans were issued. At 566 7th Street, the DSCR, debt service coverage ratio, was 1.17. S&P also noted Cohen had reported higher net cash flow, 14% and 11% respectively for the 2 deals. than what the ratings agency had found soon after when the CMBS bonds were sold. Both deals were highly leveraged. A loan-to-value ratio of 70% is average for multifamilies. Cohen's properties averaged 93% according to S&P valuations. By November, Cohen was delinquent on both loans, according to Morningstar. Last month, they were flagged for monetary default, Trepp reported. Over said Conway Capital is talking with its services and is confident these isolated delinquencies will be resolved soon. It's possible Cohen stopped making payments to secure a loan modification. Struggling borrowers sometimes become delinquent to force a workout, even if special services who work on behalf of CMBS bondholders don't like to be strong-armed. In other instances, investors will stop making payments if they expect to sell the properties. First of all, let me just pause right there. For you individuals who are trying to purchase multifamilies, working through the system of investing and what have you, this is a prime example of making sure your numbers are right. All right. So if he was over leveraged from the get-go, why did the bank give him the loan in the first place? Because banks are really not there for your best interest, right? Now, this could be considered a subprime type of situation, but it looked like it's more of a negotiated rate where they found financing in a way where they were able to special financing where they were able to leverage some things, and next thing you know, boom, they got the loan. Fine. He has back and he has a good background, so they probably didn't even question it, So they said, okay, we know you, we'll give it to you or whatever. The problem is when you first purchase your first few multifamilies, that's not how this is going to go with the banks if you plan on using a bank. And even so, you still want to be able to understand the numbers game, how everything works, what's the interest rate, what's the point system. When you speak to your MLO, you ask them about it. You ask them about it. You talk to them about the rates, talk to them about the numbers, find out what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, based off of your financial situation. This way you won't be in this issue, in this problem. All right, let me go on. Cohen may have needed money to handle an early default. A few months before buying the Park Slope and Borum Hill properties, he felt delinquent on a $15.5 million CMBS loan backed by 3 recently renovated mixed-use buildings. See, over-leveraged. 155 and 162 Montage Street in Brooklyn Heights and 6 Stone Street in Fidei. Cohen had borrowed from Argentic, agreeing to terms that allowed the lender to go after his personal assets. In an event of default, in August 2023, Cohen faced foreclosure on the property. The suit is ongoing, but his attorney said the loan has been in good standing since August. Now, the interesting thing is, in which I don't know too much about this gentleman or his situation, but 9 times out of 10, these properties are in a trust. These properties are in an LLC and not actually in his name. It just so happens that he knows, these people know who owns the properties. This is why they're speaking to his attorney and not him directly, right? So the attorney is probably the, what's it called? The attorney has power of attorney most likely on his assets, so that when anything happens, they go to the attorney, whoever it is that's looking for him, and they handle whatever they need to handle without a problem. This information that's on the Real Deal magazine is public knowledge. So it's not something that you can't just look up online, right? So when an individual has this problem, this is why he has other properties that are still that he still owns, that is still running running as scheduled and is making money. That's making money. they probably, these loan banks or lenders may not be able to get to those properties because of the contract that they signed may have been under a different LLC. And because of it, the only thing they could sue, now I'm not an attorney, but from my understanding, from my clarification, the only thing they could sue is within that LLC. So any money that's within the LLC, any property within the LLC, if the LLC doesn't have any money, then it's the property itself. So that's what it seems like. That's what it looks like that's happening at this time with this gentleman. And I think he'll be fine. I honestly think he'll be fine. It seems like he's been through this before, but I think he knows what he's doing. And worst come to worst, if he loses in court, if he has to go to court, then he'll probably just give up another property or set up a settlement agreement of some sort, and he'll be good to go. So yeah, I think that's actually an interesting article, and it's something that's important for you guys who are interested in purchasing multifamily homes, or even single family homes or commercial properties overall. This process is step by step, and sometimes things happen where you go through the process, you do the inspections, you maybe decide to get an FHA with that multifamily, and then so there's a hiccup or two that ends up happening, which usually there is something that occurs that you have to fix. But this is why you have an attorney to look over the documents. This is why you have your accountant looking over the numbers. This is why you have all these things in place when you're building the business, when you're building these your real estate portfolio. Okay, so that's going to be the show for the day, guys. It's going to be limited. Unfortunately, I'm on a time crunch. But if you have questions, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be able to answer your questions for you, okay? I'll talk to y'all soon, and y'all have a good day.